welcome back to Inside First, a Trojanator podcast. I'm Thomas.
I'm Katie.
I'm JR.
And yes, we have two new guests today. As we said in the revamp episode last time, we said we were going to have rotating members on our team come and talk on the podcast. So, Katie, if you would like to start us off.
Well, I'm Katie. I'm a sophomore on the team. This is my second year. I'm a mech member. I help build the robot, and I do chairmans and help with the outreach.
Pretty good. And then JR?
I'm JR. I'm a freshman. I do CAD and the team's outreach over the summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, JR has been campers at our STEM camps, and some of the other FLL stuff we did across the street at the grade school. So pretty cool to see that transition. I know a lot of your classmates have done that. Do you want to talk about that a little bit before we get started?
Yeah, it was fun. They did their robot in 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
That was over the summer. That was fun. You really gotta, as middle schoolers and grade schoolers, you gotta learn how they built the robot, and it helped me transition into full-on build season. In the FLL, they helped with building the robot and designing it, and yeah.
I mean, that's a good way to kind of give you another step ahead of compared to some of the kids who joined the team. Like when I joined back in 2017, God, it's years ago. I didn't have that at the grade school, and a lot of us didn't. So you're pretty special to have those options. And going forward, hopefully more kids who participate in the outreach will come to North Catholic, join the robotics team, and keep doing the great stuff. So moving on to other great things, go to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, do what you got to do. We posted our digital animation, which was created by our beautiful media team. So definitely go check that out. It's really good. I'm happy. I'm impressed with it. So yeah, just go give it a look. And who knows? It's pretty cool. And moving into the big thing, which is kickoff. We kind of talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but obviously you guys are new fresh faces. Give us your thoughts on the game. You want to start, JR?
Sure, yeah. I think it's a pretty good game. It has a lot of different types of things you need to complete, and with the stages on how you have to spin the wheel and shoot the balls and get more balls. It helps robots need to do more different things, and I like the generator switch and how you have to try to balance it out with the different weights of the robot. I think that helps a lot with having teams define a strategy at what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm. I was absolutely terrified when I saw that switch. I went, oh my God, it moves. So it's going to be fun to see how teams handle that. It's going to be a lot like teams trying to get the hatch panels and the cargo balls from last year, and then just trying to find that overall good strategy. What about you, Kate? What are your thoughts on it?
I thought it was pretty cool. At first, it was very confusing. And after reading the manual a couple of times, it got easier. I think the generator switch is pretty cool. The swing is a little scary, but yeah, we'll do fine. I really like the wheel. That's pretty cool. The stages.
Different.
It's very different. And the towers are just very cool. Overall, I really liked it, and I can't wait for it.
So with that, I think it would be a good idea to kind of break down the rule book a little bit, more so with the points. So let me just scroll through here. But yeah, let me tell you, this field looks weird.
Very weird how you have to switch sides.
With the trenches and the rendezvous in the middle, and with the big truss set that the shield generator sits on. It's just different, and I think that's pretty cool that First is making something different. I mean, every game is unique, but just the way they went about this is interesting, to say the least.
It's very cool that they're collaborating with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we both looked at the field in the VR.
Yes.
With Luke and Nick the night at kickoff. So do you want to talk about the VR aspect of that?
Yeah, the VR field was so cool. It was very, very unique to see the field that way. You got to pick up the balls, you got to throw them in the goals, and we really got to see how hard and how small the smaller goal was. So
yeah, the lower goal.
Yeah, so we knew that wasn't going to be the greatest bet, and that just how big the upper goal was and how it might be just better to shoot up there. And swinging bar and how far it swings and how it moves was really cool to see, because just reading it wasn't really explaining it enough.
Yeah, you got to be able to see what they're describing in words. So,
and then seeing the trench run and the wheel was pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. So I got the points pulled up now. So as we've seen the past few years, you get 2 points for the win, 1 point for a tie. But then you also get 2 more ranking points, 1 for activating stage 3 on the shield generator, or you energize the shield generator for 1 ranking point, which is when you activate stage 3. And then the second other ranking point you can get is earning 65 endgame points to have the shield generator operational, and that's without having it tilt beyond the 8 degrees. So the other points you can get, in auto, you get 5 points for crossing the initiation line. You get 2 points on the bottom port for the power cell, 4 points in the outer port for the power cell, and 6 points for the inner port of the power cell. And then teleop, instead of it being 2, 4, 6, it's 1, 2, 3. Control panel, when you spin it, just the 3 times, but no more than 5, you get 10 points. When you position it to the correct color, you get 20. And then hanging a robot is 25 points. If you park in the rendezvous point, which is the colored area underneath, for your alliance, you get 5 points. And then if it's level, you get 15 points, which is between 1 and 3 robots. So it's a pretty interesting breakdown.
Yes.
So as we look at this, take you back to kickoff. You looked at this table the first time. What stands out to you?
I really think that the bonus points for the level hanging really stands out because we've seen park, we've seen hang, we've seen shooting before. I also think the rotation control and the position control really stand out because I haven't really seen anything like that. Rotation with just the rotating a number of times in position to a color. I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Jared?
I like how they brought back auto mode and gave teams the interest of getting double the points for shooting the balls into the ports. I think that's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. I mean, last year, as you're alluding to, with the Sandstorm, you didn't necessarily need an auto, which, it was different. But I'm glad they're bringing back a true auto. Especially I know we've been doing a lot of testing trying to get the moving of the robot correct because we want to be able to score 6 balls, and I know a lot of teams will go for 6 or probably even more in all honesty. Looking at this, I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game overall.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
I think that's good.
And I feel like there's not going to be as much defense this year than last year. I feel that this just doesn't, I just feel like there's really not going to be as much defense played.
Yeah, I mean, it's different because there's always going to be some aspect of defense,
yes.
But the field is just so weird that it's going to be hard to... Well, the field is going to play more defense on you because if robots that can't go under the control panel, they have, if you can't go through the trench, you got to go through the middle with that 1-inch elevation.
Yes.
So...
And
it's going to be different.
There's going to be a lot of defense played when it comes time to hanging with the teams who can't hang, just to stop that hang. And that minuses you.
Right. I remember we did that a lot in 2018.
25 robots. Yeah.
But last year's games, the way they had the points values, it just seemed like it was always fairly low scoring games. But when you compare that to 2018 with the way the scoring worked per second, and especially if you saw a robot get stuck under the switch and then they just kept accumulating points like that. The scores nearly reached 1,000, which
they were very
that might
high.
be too much. So
you saw them get up to 400, 500,
and
sometimes 600.
At one point, it just isn't even fun towards the end.
Yeah,
if an alliance is just absolutely demolishing. But, if they're better, then that's how it goes. Overall, good. The scoring balance is very good, in my opinion. Now, the way teams approach this and the way they define their strategy, we won't be able to see that. Nobody's an expert in this game.
I think that'll be a fun thing to see because there's so many options to do, so many things, so many ways to, this team can do this and we can do this, and just it'll be an interesting thing to see.
And last year, teams were able to benefit from the strategy of just placing null hatches everywhere.
Yes.
And we didn't see that the first few weeks of competition. So I'm thinking this game doesn't really allow for something like that.
No.
Maybe it does. Who knows? We'll have to see who comes up with that, an idea like that first. Another thing that's interesting, and JR, you might be able to put a little thought for this, is since there's no bag day, first in the rulebook they said that the amount of power cells to be scored to activate each levels can change between
Stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get
It
the
won't
first
change
stage
between
with 9, the second stage
so
with
it might
12.
change for district championships and first championship.
Yeah.
So like the normal regionals and whatnot, that won't change, but
Yeah.
it could change for that, and that's obviously because the competition will be so good.
Yeah.
They're anticipating
We're
they don't
the
want it
best
to get
of the best.
stale.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like how First is trying to keep the game interesting?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because if they see that that's way too much, and they bring that down, you might get more ranking points, and it might become more interesting with closer matches. And if it's too high, then everyone's going to hit the stage 3, and it's going to be, like you said, become stale and boring.
Mm-hmm. So they add the points onto that, make teams really have to like work for that, maximize their cycles and stuff. We could see some pretty cool games. So
yeah, that'd be interesting. It's just gonna come down to which team can cycle more and how fast they can.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good segue into, I guess, what we've come up with our robot so far. Obviously, this is audio, no videos, no pictures, but definitely look out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff to see where we're going to post pictures and whatnot once the robot is good. At the time of recording, we're just getting all our materials in after buying them so we can start assembling the robot. So, JR, I know you've been working on the electronics board. You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, it was interesting because this year we decided to go with a hinging board from the bottom of the robot. And with the game thing, at the rendezvous points, they have a 1-inch bar, and we found a lot of ground clearance issues with those, so we've had to go through many redesigns on how we're going to create hinges for the board that won't conflict with that.
Yeah, a little lip. And the reason we're going with those hinges is so we'll be able to access the board in the pits because we don't necessarily have anything over the electronics board, but just so it's easily accessible. Because that's something we've neglected in the past is the electronics board and how we're able to access it, especially last year because we had a very small window for the electronics board and it got mounted like sideways. Mm-hmm. So that didn't really work.
No, it was.
We were more cognitive of that this year. Mm-hmm. And then Katie, you've been working on the intake and the storage for the power cells.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the intake be brought to life. I think it's a really cool design. We've been back and forth with using belts and pulleys and wheels and what wheels. And I think deciding to go with mechanism wheels with cord instead of the belt because it's lighter and 3D printing the pulleys was a really good design because it's already so heavy. And the storage I think is going to be pretty cool. There's been a lot of talk on it, a lot of design with it, a lot of redesign, and I really like where we went with it and the pulleys on top and bottom. And I think it's just really going to be cool overall, I think. And holding 5 balls, of course, is amazing.
Right, yeah, because that's the maximum amount of balls you can hold. And if you want to maximize your cycle time and your scoring, you got to be able to hold 5 balls and then score those 5 balls.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for the intake to go up to the storage and to finally go up to the turret or shooter. I think that's going to be so cool in the end, and it's going to be very beneficial if we can get it to work.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the turret and the shooter we have is just a normal flywheel shooting the balls back from. We're going for the initiation line, and then we want to use some vision to be able to line up. And then if a robot's playing defense on us or pushing us around, we'll be able to turn the shooter based on the limelight and the vision and still be able to score those points. So if we can really hone that down and get that perfected, even if we hit the inner target, because we're mainly going for the outer target, the big area, because one, it's so big, you get double the points from the lower goal, but if we can even hit a few inside and get 3 points, that's even better. Which that might just be a little fine-tuning to always hit that.
If we can't get the turret to work, we can just go straight up against the wall, no defense there. But I think the turret's going to be very useful. It's going to make us stand out.
Yeah, as long as it's reliable, that's another thing.
Yes.
And like looking back, because you two hadn't been here back in 2018, but we had a very reliable robot. It was very simple, but we never broke down. We never had any issues, and made us a really strong Lions pick at both of our competitions. And then last year, we had some reliability issues early on. At the first competition, didn't get picked, but we fixed them for the second one, and we got picked.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that's really important to us.
And I'm excited to see us go from a defense bot to a scoring bot again because last year, we were really good with defense. We got picked by really good alliances. I think the second and the first alliance. Second
Pittsburgh?
at Pittsburgh. And
We were the first alliance.
first at Pittsburgh and second at Worlds. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I'm really excited to see how we do. And, just be a scoring bot this year.
What else do we have? Oh, we have the control panel. You want to talk about that, JR?
Yeah, it's just we also hooked up to belts and motors to spin the control panel, and what is it? You have to spin it 3 times.
Yes, we got to spin the thing 3 times. We got some compliant wheels being belt driven on just a little framing of box tubing, and then we'll have a color sensor to check the color for that second stage goal. What else?
Our climb.
Oh, the climb, of course, the climb. Yes.
The climb has gone through many stages. I think we're still
We're
trying
still
to get that
choosing what we got to do.
Finals.
We're getting there, though.
Yeah,
We're making sure we do it right, and we're not doing it just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah. That could be the last thing put on, so that's okay, and that it shouldn't be too hard to just put together and could do it in a meeting. And I'm very excited to see how that works and if it works.
All right, so that's pretty much it for today. That's our whole robot. We'll keep you up to date. Upcoming episodes are going to be some more robot stuff, competition stuff, outreach stuff. So I just want to say thank you to JR and Katie for coming. Hopefully we'll have you guys back relatively soon. And thank you again to all of you people watching, or not watching, but listening, because we don't have video. But, that's okay. We still appreciate your support. So give us a subscription. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Keep up to date on everything Trojanators. And we will see you in the next episode.